The poet speaks of those who have reached the greater life. Each is a greatness growing towards the heights, or from his inner center, oceans out. Each person houses something in him, a greatness which goes on growing towards the heights, or he oceans out. It's a beautiful expression. He spreads out like an ocean, but from an inner center. In all these descriptions, Sri Aurobindo gives us hints of what we must do in our inner life. Only to read Savitri and enjoy it for its beauty of expression, for its new conceptions, is not what we study the epic for. It is as an aid towards the practice of the yoga of consciousness that we devote ourselves to intensive study of these lines. So in this portion that we are doing today, for instance, there are many lines, each one of which gives us a direction for our practice and ensure growth towards the higher consciousness. So here he speaks of two ways. One is vertical, growing towards the heights. Another, from the inner center to fan out. Oceans out is a more powerful expression than spreading or fanning out, because it indicates the immensity of the movement. And he oceans out from the inner center, not from the external ego center. Similarly, the greatness is not satisfied by being great, but insists on growing towards greater heights. And it spells out what happens when one oceans out in circling ripples of concentric power. They swallow, glutted, their environment. As he oceans out, there are ripples of power, concentric, that is, they derive. Ultimately, they derive their force from the center. It is from there that they fan out, and in the process, they swallow their environment. That is, in their consciousness, they envelop their entire environment. And then he gives a warning. Even of that largeness, many a cabin make. That is, many make a prison house of even that largeness. That is, they take it as an ultimate and stay there put. Even of that largeness, many a cabin make. How do they do that? In narrower breadths and briefer vistas spent, they live content with some small greatness won. Compared to the larger greatness that is possible, the greatness that they have won turns out to be small, and they confine themselves in narrower breadths and briefer vistas. Spent is they force themselves and they live content with their narrowness, content with the small greatness. Compared to the greater vistas, their greatnesses are small, but they are content. And that is how they stop their own growth. To rule the little empire of themselves, to be a figure in their private world. They have their own small world, which they guard from invasions from outside. And there they want to be a figure. To be a figure in their private world and make the milieu's joys and griefs their own. And within their private world, they are large enough. They share the joys and griefs of all in their world and satisfy their life motives and life wants. To do these things is charge enough and office for the strength and the power that they have achieved. For that strength, to rule this little empire, to be a dominant figure, to share the joys and griefs in the environment, is charge enough, is work enough, and office, their assignment is that much. And then he says, this strength and this power, a steward of the person and his fate. The real person is inside, neglected. It is this outer personality who is the steward. A steward is one who acts for somebody else. In each plane, for instance, or on a ship, there is always a steward who represents his captain, who goes about distributing drinks and offering help. And that person finds these little assignments big enough. The real person, the capital person, the soul, is waiting inside. Now, this was transition line and starting point. This domain where Ashwapati has arrived is the line of crossing over, the starting point of something new, a first immigration into heavenliness. Still beyond is heavenliness, not heaven but heavenliness, something that's smacking of heaven for all who cross into that brilliant sphere. These are the kinsmen of our earthly race. The beings of this larger life world are kinsmen, relations of our earthly race. There is something in common between us and them. This region borders on our mortal state. It is a neighbor of this earth world. This wider world our greater movements gives. Even on earth, the larger and the greater movements that we have at inspired moments, they derive from this wider world. Its strong formations build our growing selves. We grow, we develop, and the impetus for this growth comes from the strong formations affected in this world of greater life. Its creatures are our brighter replicas, that is, copybooks. Our brighter specimens and the creatures of that world are almost reflections of each other. They complete the types we only initiate. We on earth can only begin, but the culmination of the type that we envisage is there in the higher world of life. Complete the types we only initiate, and are securely what we strive to be. We go on trying on earth to be some kind of higher beings, but still our attempts are tentative. We approximate, but securely achieved, it is in that world. As if thought out eternal characters, those beings are fully formed, eternal shaped characters, entire, whole, not pulled as we by contrary tides. All our life we are being pulled back by contrary movements, contrary to what we want to achieve. But they are entire, full. They they follow the unseen leader in the heart. This is again a line to be followed by us here. They grow. Why do they grow big? Why do they grow beyond the earthly dimension? Because they follow the unseen leader in the heart, the captain of the journey, the leader of the sacrifice. He is in the heart. He is not known. He is not vociferous. But it does not mean that he is not there. He is the unseen leader in the heart. We have to make an attempt to become aware of him, to establish a connection and a link, and to stabilize our contact with the leader. They follow the unseen leader in the heart. Their lives obey the inner nature's law. The unseen leader, the Purusha, is there. But the Prakriti also counts, but not the outer Prakriti. The inner nature's law, the inner nature, it has its own truth, its own law, and their lives obey the inner nature and not the external nature, because the inner nature reflects the will of the inner leader more faithfully than the external nature. There is kept for grandeur store the hero's mold. There is kept grandeur store, the hero's mold. There in that higher world is the mold of the hero into which we have to grow if we care to. There is the store of grandeur, not the imitation grandeurs. That is all that we can achieve here. And the soul is the watchful builder of its fate. The soul really is the watchful, vigilant builder of its fate. But at our level, it is only in theory. It is our ego self that builds the fate. The soul does not get a chance to shape our life. But this is an ideal condition that we have to establish. The soul as the watchful builder of its fate. None is a spirit indifferent and inert. Here, the spirit, the self, appears to be indifferent, inactive, but there it is not so. None is a spirit indifferent and inert. They choose their side. They see the God they adore. They always choose on what side they will throw their weight. On the side of good, on the side of evil, on the side of light, on the side of darkness. They won't take up a neutral position and try to escape the problem. They say, none is a spirit indifferent and inert. They choose their side. They see the God they adore. A battle is joined between the true and false. It is between these two that they choose their side, because till the final victory is won, there is always a battle between the true and the false. A pilgrimage sets out to the divine light, and on the way there is obstruction, there is pullback from darkness, from evil, from falsehood. For even ignorance there aspires to know. Unlike ignorance on earth, which is content with itself and doesn't admit a ray of light, over there it aspires to know and shines with the luster of a distant star. It is luminous because it aspires and it reflects something of the light of knowledge. It says, there is a knowledge in the heart of sleep, even in ignorance, even in the condition of sleep, there is a knowledge burning. And nature comes to them as a conscious force, not as an unconscious energy that it does to us, beings involved in ignorance, but as a conscious force. Nature to them is not Prakriti, but Shakti. An ideal is their leader and their king, not self-interest, not ego and desire, but some great ideal is their leader and their king, aspiring to the monarchy of the sun. They want the Son of Truth, the Son of Knowledge, to be the monarch of their lives. They call in truth for their high government. This is again, these lines apply to all of us. What we should do, aspiring to the monarchy of the sun, they call in truth for their high government. They aspire and they pray to the truth to govern their lives. From its height, hold her incarnate in their daily acts. It is not enough to call and pray to the truth in meditational hours, but we have to incarnate that truth in the daily acts. It is not enough to hold it as an ideal, but we must turn it into an actual by trying to incarnate in the daily acts that relates to action, activity. But there are other parts of our life, and fill their thoughts with her inspired voice. Even at the level of thought, we should hope and try to fill our thoughts with the inspired voice of truth. That is, our thoughts should not be allowed to wander in all kinds of fantastic imaginations, bordering on falsehood, but they must be so oriented that they would reflect the inspired voice of truth and shape their lives into her breathing form. The truth must breathe into our lives. The breathing of truth must take form in the shape of our lives. Till in her sun gold Godhead they too share. Till in the Godhead, sun gold, sun is truth, gold refers to the supramental. To the integral, luminous Godhead of truth, they too, these votaries, these adherents, in that truth they also share. That has to be our program, to call the truth for high government, aspiring for to the monarchy of the suns, hold her incarnate in the daily acts, fill the thoughts with her inspired force, voice, shape the lives into her breathing form, till all this discipline, all this practice has to continue, till we are in a position to identify ourselves and share in the golden radiance of the Godhead of truth. Now this is what those beings of the higher life world do, and that is why they are great, and they provide inspiration for all movements of greatness on our plane. Each is a greatness growing towards the heights, or from his inner center oceans out, encircling ripples of concentric power, they swallow, glutted, their environment. Even of that largeness, many a cabin make, in narrower breadths and briefer vistas spent, they live content with some small greatness won, to rule the little empire of themselves, to be a figure in their private world, and make the milieu's joys and griefs their own, and satisfy their life motives and life wants, is charge enough and office for the strength, a steward of the person and his fate. This was transition line and starting point, a first immigration into heavenliness for all who cross into that brilliant sphere. These are the kinsmen of our earthly race, This region borders on our mortal state. This wider world our greater movements gives. Its strong formations build our growing selves. Its creatures are our brighter replicas. Complete the types we only initiate, and as securely what we strive to be. As if thought out eternal characters, entire, not pulled as we by contrary tides, they follow the unseen leader in the heart. Their lives obey the inner nature's law. There is kept grandeur store, the hero's mold. The soul is the watchful builder of its fate. None is a spirit, indifferent and inert. They choose their side. They see the God they adore. A battle is joined between the true and false. A pilgrimage sets out to the divine light. For even ignorance there aspires to know, and shines with the lustre of a distant star. There is a knowledge in the heart of sleep, and nature comes to them as a conscious force. An ideal is their leader and their king. Aspiring to the monarchy of the suns, they call in truth for their high government, holder incarnate in their daily acts, and fill their thoughts with their inspired voice.